This is going to be the last step before finalizing the sculpt. In this chapter here, we're going to simply just take the sculptor to the next level. Currently, you can see that it's working pretty alright, but we need to do a fair bit of changes. First off, we need to close the mouth here. I like to keep it open a little bit when doing the retopology, as it's a lot easier for me to get inside the mouth. We need to get back the volumes we lost, like the region here. Around the eyes, you can see it's very soft. The ears as well, very soft. Obvious lips as well. And there's a huge problem as well, which is it's boring. It's just an asymmetrical man just looking straight ahead. We need to add an expression to him. And the way we do that is you pretty much just figure out what you want the character to feel like. You take a lot of pictures of yourself, a lot of really embarrassing photos. You find a mirror and you just try to recreate the expression. That's something a lot of guys forget about. We're also going to UV map the guy out as well, just so he has proper UVs. But we're going to do that after we've done the sculpting pass here. The reason I do it after the sculpting pass is because we might change the shape of him. Let's just make a new layer, then I can show you what I mean. Let's say we want to do this kind of stuff. At this point, we realize we have to do a pretty drastic shape change. The topology supports it. You can see the topology here is fine, but the problem is the UVs would be pretty stretched at this point. So the UVs would be based on this model, but our model would actually look like this. So the problem with doing UVs beforehand or before the final sculpting pass is you feel restricted. You won't, I mean, of course you can always just tweak the UVs, but it's an extra step. So I just prefer to do it at a later stage. This is delete the layer. So when doing any kind of work like this, I prefer to always work on a layer. This way you can very easily erase your sculpting and just backtrack and figure out exactly what you've done. Highly recommend sculpting a layer. And we do this by going to Tool, Layer, and just hit this button here called New Layer. Then we can rename it and call it Sculpting 01. We can also make different layers afterwards with different frequencies. So if we're doing really high frequency details, I will do that on a separate layer. You really want to do high frequency details on a separate layer. So the video here is going to be me just sculpting for a couple minutes here in real time with narration on, and then we're going to speed it up. One of the reasons is just honestly, I can't sculpt really well and talk at the same time. I need to focus on this. And this is a hard task. This is you creating of course, it's a stylized sculpt in terms of proportion, but it's still a lot of realism going on. There are still a lot of hard shapes in this sculpt. And I just need to concentrate on that. So we're going to do narration on top of my sculpting. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to close the mouth, as I said. We can go down to a lower level and just close it down. I'm using the Move Topological brush for this. The Move Topological is awesome for this because now you can just see here, you can just move stuff around like this. And some weird artifacts. So already you can see it looks quite a bit better. People just look less bright if their mouth is open. I'm also going to just fix the most obvious mistakes for now. Using the Alpha 06. This is a really nice brush. A really nice alpha to use. We also lost a lot of volume in the nose here as well, so I'm going to have to bring some of that back. The way I would bring that back is using the inflate brush. It's a bit hard to get in there, so I'm just going to hold down Control, Shift, and just left mouse button drag, and hide the rest, and now we can just see what's going on here. So what's probably happened is the inner geo here is just snapped to the outer surface, which is fine because we can just very easily just fix this here. I'm just going to smooth this down. I normally don't smooth down ever unless I want to destroy the form, because smoothing does destroy a lot of form. And which means if you're doing regular sculpting, destroying form is the absolute last thing you want to do, because it's destroying, well, by definition, it's destroying your form. But if you have like a mistake like this, you just want to annihilate it. Like I was talking about before as well, I just want to bring the nostrils in here a bit, so they're thinner. This is more physically correct when it comes to the subsurface scattering. We're not going to do too much fancy subsurface scattering here, but this is a general rule. Also, the way to get double here, I just mapped this in the interface. I believe it's under Tool and Display, which is here, Display Properties. And now we can just enable double. This can be really handy in certain cases like this. I use double a lot when I'm cleaning up. I don't normally use it though. So when people sculpt like stuff like nostrils, they're just like doing this kind of stuff, which means the nostril is essentially like a centimeter thick. But if you were to touch your own nose, it's like a couple of millimeters at most. So every change you do on the layer will propagate through. So even if you do it on lowest level, you make the layer on highest level, but the changes you do on lowest level will still propagate through. So at this point, I'm just thinking about first just cleaning up what I've done here, just getting back to the old stage, but also just the big shapes. I'm not thinking about the finer details at all. I just want the big volumes, because this needs to work before doing any details. That said, though, we will do a fair bit of finer volumes in this one as well, like more refined volumes. Then we're going to do a little chapter on more high frequency details as well, because while I do really make a point saying that it's not the most important thing, if you're going for realism, high frequency details are really important. That's really what separates something which looks stylized from something realistic. You can't really get full-on realism without really high frequency details. It's just the way the specular is broken up. And yeah, you just need, the light just hits it in a more plausible manner. So I disable and enable symmetry fiber as well when doing this. I'll definitely add asymmetry to the eyes later on as well, because that's really important. And I was talking about the marine topology video, we need to get the caruncula to be working. The caruncula is just the little shape here. It's essentially this guy, which you're just going to have to work up a little bit. But I'll do that once we time lapse it, because this is just something I need to just focus on. So, alright, there is no point in me just doing this slowly and not talking. We're just going to switch to a timeless version of this, where I'm narrating on top. So I'll see you in a little bit.